Hello and welcome to Kenty Prime Time. Paul Kent here. The very special guest today, obviously accompanied by John Elias, the one and only boxing aficionado. So we just thought we'd bring. We all know how much you love Johnny talking about boxing, so we thought we'd get someone in today to help him along. The one and only Jeff Fenech, Australia's greatest ever fighter. Jeff, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Great to be here with great people, and 360 are missing their best commentator, the guy who tells the truth.
Yeah, tells it how it is.
We'll get some today. So, Jeff, just wanted to talk. Look, there's lots been going on, particularly in your world. We watched you the other day with Brock Jarvis, who got beaten in a fight. Upset you quite a bit, that one. We saw on the weekend Tszyu come back and he's had his fight. And your poor old Parramatta Eels, mate, what's happened to them?
I mean, they won their last game.
Only good as your last.
That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Jeff, are you a Parramatta supporter or are you a Newcastle supporter? Your son-in-law?
It's hard at the moment, but I've always been a staunch Parramatta fan, so I'll stick with it.
I love that. I love the loyalty.
What do you think the Eels have got to get done, mate? What's going wrong with them?
I'm not sure. I spoke to Jason Rolls a few months ago at Echo Restaurant, of course, the beautiful restaurant on the water there, Drummoyne Sailing Club. And mate, when I spoke to him, not he was confident, but he just said so many things that I agreed with. And now I think it's really up to the players. I mean, sometimes you can have the greatest coach in the world, but if you don't have the players and you don't have that love and respect there, you don't get the success. Look at Wayne Bennett. Wayne Bennett's the greatest coach ever because his players love him and he loves them. Johnny Lewis, the greatest boxing coach ever, vice versa, because we loved him, we'd die for him, we'd take a bullet for him, and he would do the same for us.
How does he win that trust over his players? Let's take it back, okay? So if he's going to do that, he's going to get the trust through from his players. You with Johnny Lewis, how did he win your trust?
Well, you do that off the field. You do that outside the boxing ring. You show people that football's most probably the biggest part. But if you show admiration for family and life in general, I think people switch on and they really, like I said, they'll do anything for you. Like I said, I'm sitting with two of my mates. I wish I was with you in King's Cross a couple of months ago because certainly that wouldn't have happened to you. But like I said, and that's just who I am. I don't care what status I've got. I don't care how many belts I've got. My dad taught me one thing: you go out with your friend, you go home with your friend. Now, if that means I'm going to jail because I'm going to jail.
Yeah. Does Parramatta? Do they look at like Riles has lost some players, he's brought some players through. How long does it take to build that? Like, what's the process? Like, your fighters, okay? You talked about Johnny Lewis. Like, I've got a million stories about you and Johnny coming through, and I'll tell you one quick one where. I don't know if I should.
Wait, before you tell me that, I thought you were going to say, do you think you and I should be putting the Parramatta side like when we played my game? We'll leave that alone.
Johnny, you don't know this. Jeff and I actually played together at Parramatta. It was a disaster, but we'll get to that.
For you it was. I loved it.
Hang on a second, mate. Well, I dispute that, but we'll get to that. But you just talk about things like that. So we talking about growing that trust and things like that. I remember Johnny Lewis rang up Les Mara one day. He said, Les, I've got this kid. He said, mate, he's going to be anything. He said, mate, he's going to be a world champion, this kid. He said, I think he's going to win the first boxing gold medal at the Olympics. Anyway, so Les goes along to the Newtown Leagues Club back then to meet you. Do you remember this?
No, not really.
Oh, anyway. So you've come in having a bit of a blue with someone. So Johnny's like, oh, hang on, take it outside. So he's taken it outside into the back, like just the back street to sit there and talk it out. And some big Swedish bloke come out. Remember this?
No, I don't.
Big Swedish bloke comes out. Hey, calm down. And Jeff weighs about 6 stone at the time. He turns around to this big bloke who's like 110, and he goes, mate, just back off. And this big Swedish bloke walks up on Jeff, and Jeff's just forgiven it to him. Knocked him out at cold. Remember that? Les goes, John, if he's anything like this in the ring, he's going to be something.
He was something.
Been plenty of them. I'll never forget this story here. There was a show on TV, like on Sky Channel and stuff, but they had all these ring experts picking the best knockout they've seen, and I'm thinking, I was voted as one. I'm thinking, wow, who was? Maybe Samar Packer, because I knocked him out very badly, and that was Anyway, the talk goes on, and then this guy says, well, I'll tell you this. Jeff Fenech in Atlantic City. I seen him knock out 3 bouncers with 1 punch each, and they were all like 18 stone.
God.
And so that was nice.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, mate, but coming through that early stage, let's go back to there, right? The early stage with Johnny Lewis, the walking into the gym. The famous story is you jumped up one day, you went there for footy training, jumped up, I'll spar a bloke, you got in and you went okay. Johnny said, mate, come back tomorrow, and you're back the next day and never stopped coming since.
I don't know if I did any good. That was I got the shit beat out of me. And when Johnny said I was good, I thought, oh, this guy's trying to get me beat up again every day. So I went home. I didn't want to go back, but I don't know. I went back, and that day, it changed my life. I met somebody who had more compassion and more. It was like I had found a new dad, because my dad was sick all his life. So it was a crazy story. But like I said, it's one of the stories in Australian history that'll go down. And people will talk about it forever. Well, I will anyway, and people who know me and people who know the story about Johnny and I, we'll talk about it forever. We had dinner every night. Straight after I finished whatever I was finishing in the afternoon, I was straight to the gym. I was the first person there. Sit there. I'd be rolling my bandages, showing Johnny that I was hygienically clean and that my parents cared about me. And I think he fell in love with me, and I fell in love with him. And like I said, the rest is really history, because like I said, when you think of him saying I was going to win a gold medal at the Olympics, which he was saying, I had 24 fights. The guys I fought had 300, 200, 100. And for him to have that confidence in me, like I said, it made me feel invincible. Yeah.
It's the funny thing, isn't it? Because like I look at your career in total, and what I find fascinating, is there's so much folklore in your story. And you talk about different fighters you fought over the years and guys like that. And every time someone like mentions an opponent of yours that you fought, like I can always think of a story around that, and some story that you just don't hear from about other fighters. You just for example, all the Victor Kalages, you fought Victor Kalages, you came out. I think Richard Steele was the referee. Kalages came out and headbutted you. Referee steps in, stop the headbutting. Jeff just headbutts him straight back. Victor Kalages, and after the first round, you both got warned. No more headbutting. Let's stop it. And Johnny's in the corner, and Kalages clearly had come there to do that to you. And he's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he, Kalages?
Yeah, well, he didn't come there to do that to him, but when he found that he couldn't beat me, he thought, and I take my hat off to him. I love the guy. I think that if somebody's beating me, I'm going to put my thumb down their eye like he was doing to me, and headbutt me and elbow me. He was missing me on purpose with his fist, just hitting with his elbow. So all credit to him, because he wanted to win. He wanted to win at all costs, and I think if you can break the rules and get away with it, do it.
Yeah. But I said to Johnny Lewis, I said to him, what did you think when you saw Kalages doing that? Because it's roughhousing. And he just, like, Johnny knew you, and he just went, come to Papa. Because it just was right in your wheelhouse. It's not something to worry. A lot of fighters that would have put them off, though.
Oh, 100%. They'll be like you see guys today, they get hit on the knee and they complain they've been hitting hit low. But the thing is, people don't realise, in my 14th fight, Paul, I'd fought 4 fights that were all 15 rounds in my 14th fight. It's never been done in the history, and it never will be done, because there's no 15 rounds anymore. But for somebody who had no fights, won the world title in my 7th fight, and then by my 14th fight, I fought for. I fought for the world title, 15 rounds. I defended 15 rounds. I fought Jerome Coffey, who was 26 and 15 rounds. Yeah. I fought the Olympic gold medalist, went 14 rounds. It's a crazy story. And I honestly say the only reason why I could do that was because of the mentor that I had, Johnny Lewis. I don't know if I would have ever dreamt of being able to do it, because I never boxed before. So this guy just, I don't know, did he hypnotise me? I don't know what he done, but he just made me want to win for him more than I won for myself. At the end of the fight, when I'd see his face and see the smile, I thought, wow, this is what I'm supposed to be doing this for.
But one thing you had, I think, which is what Johnny picked up on with you, you had obviously many things, but one of the things you did have was this extraordinary mental toughness, this ability to force yourself to train harder and to push yourself through barriers and things like that. And I remember watching Tszyu train one day at the gym, and everyone was walking around after it. Tszyu trained for 2 hours, and for me it was painful to watch, to be honest. It was just so much wasted bullshit sort of stuff going on, right? But at the end of it, all these people were saying to me, Mal, what about that? They were impressed. Now, certainly watching Kosh in the ring is highly impressive. Okay,
Sure
just
is.
his punch and his neatness. But he'd do some rounds, and then he'd go and he'd lay down for a while and kind of pretend he was stretching, waste a bit of time, and then he'd get up and he'd go and hit the bag, or he'd go and hit the floor ceiling. And whenever he was actually doing it, it looked really, really impressive what he did. But the time it took, I thought 2 hours for do this. And I said to Johnny, after Johnny was at the gym that day, and Johnny said to me, I said to Johnny, everyone's super impressed with this, John, but I'm not sure. And Johnny said to me, he goes, Paul, he said, mate, let me tell you something. He said, what Kosher did here today in 2 hours, he said Jeff would do in half an hour.
Yeah.
Then he'd run home after it, and he'd visit two mates on the way. You know what I mean? And he would just talk. Your training, from what I remember, is the 30-second breaks between rounds. And I remember you one day you were sparring. You did your last round. Someone was there to rip the gloves straight off, put the pads straight on, so you could get straight into a little bit of bag work and stuff like that. Because you didn't want to waste that. You wouldn't if that 30 seconds went over to 35, you cracked the shits with whoever had the clock.
Yeah, I just tried to, to this day, I'm a real believer in. I mean, if some of these kids they come and do some training there. I said, "What are you doing? How many rounds?" I'm fighting 3 rounds. How long do you train every day? Oh, 2.5 hours. I said, "You're training for 2.5 hours to fight 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's get this right." So I just try to teach them and do things right.
Yeah.
And
It's intensity.
yeah,
wasn't
of course
it?
it is. Yeah, and I'm it's just and it's knowing that. At the end of it all, it's just knowing that you can do more if you need to. Like I said, I was blessed. I trained Kerry Packer for years, and while I trained him, he was amazing. He never missed a day. Well, I might have had to wait 4 or 5 hours while he's in meetings, but he never missed a day. And every single day after I'd finished training, Sal, I can do more. I said, we'll do more tomorrow. It's better to be underdone than overdone. If I killed him every day, I'm sure he wasn't going to be there. Yeah. So there's a method to the madness, and Johnny taught me that as well.
You just brought up Kerry Packer. I've got a story about Kerry Packer. It's a real good one, Paul. You like this, Jeff. In early 90s, about 91, he invited Belmont to his Scone. He had a ranch there at Scone. Oh, you've been there. Yeah.
Yep.
We've all gone there, and he had this shooting range, this mechanical shooting range, like mechanical pigs. And we all had pistols and doing the targets. And he's walked in. Everyone's going, "There's Kerry Packer. There's Kerry Packer." I didn't know who he was. Never met the bloke, but there was a presence about him, as you would know, Jeff. Anyway, about 20 minutes later, after he'd come in, one of the coaching staff said, "Kerry wants to see you." I'm going, "Oh, okay." I got a bit nervous. I said, "Okay." So I go. I followed him in. And these rooms, he's got about 50 rooms, Jess, as you know. This was massive. It was a small table in the middle of the room. We're sitting there. Like I'm looking at you, Jeff. He stared at me for about 2 minutes. Not a word was said. Just kept staring at me. And I had to say something. I said, "Kerry, does anyone owe you any money?" He didn't want to laugh, but he turned his head and he's gone. You could tell he was laughing. He's come back. His exact words were, "You don't know how fucking lucky you are." I said, "Yeah, what do you mean?" He said, "You in a team sport, you've got camaraderie, you trust each other, you spill blood for your teammates, and they'll do it for you. You don't know how lucky you fucking are." And I jumped in, I said, "Lucky, Kerry? I live in a fibro house. I've got 3 other siblings. My mum works 14 hours a day to put food on the table. It's not about fucking money," he said. "You work it out one day. You will work it out." Anyway, we finished. He said, "Be good to your mum," as we left. And I did work it out. It wasn't about money. In the business world, Jeff, this is what he didn't have. He didn't have someone he could trust. Is that correct, Paul?
Yeah.
He didn't have the camaraderie. He didn't have someone you could go out with, spill blood for each other.
Yeah.
That's what he didn't have.
Yeah.
And he said there'll be people that'll give their right arm just to play first grade like you.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand it, but years later I did.
Yeah.
And that's because you brought it up. I'm glad you brought that up. That's something I'll never ever forget what he said to me.
That's one thing that Kerry always wanted was
Somebody could trust Paul.
that trust, but that sporting talent. Like he fell in love with
It was more than sporting talent. I think he just loved
Just the
to hear some
camaraderie.
stories that obviously he was never allowed to do. He was barred from, mentally and physically and emotionally. He was barred from going out and doing what we were allowed to do on our own. He's one of those kids who was at home with his obviously rich father and stuff, and he never really enjoyed the full part of his life until it looks later on in his life. Like I said, I've been to Vegas with him, and wow, haven't we had great times?
He was a scallywag, wasn't he?
Oh, he really wanted
I love
to be.
that. I love
that's
that.
what honestly. That's why he loved me and a couple of other friends I used to take training. He wanted to hear them stories about being a scallywag and getting away with it and being, he loved those stories.
The Packer family helped you in your career, didn't they? They just pull that bit closer there, Jeff. Yeah, the Pack. Tell us about some of those Vegas trips with Kerry.
Well, he didn't just help me, but he helped a lot of my friends, and to this day, I can say one of the proudest things to say that I speak to James Packer very regularly. We're very, very close. I love James and we're really good. But I'll give you an example of one story going to Vegas. We're leaving training at the gym in the city where Kerry had, and he says, Jeff, next week I'm going to Las Vegas, and he said, are you able to come? I said, of course I'll come. He goes, do you need anything? Whatever. I said, no, all good. He said, well, I want you to bring 3 of your friends. And I said, Mr. Packer, I've boxed in Vegas, so I know people in Vegas. I don't need to bring any friends. Just, He said, I want you to bring 3 friends. I said, Mr. Packer, I don't need. He said, listen, bring 3 friends. So I brought the 3 friends, and they were Padna, a guy named Billy, and Peter Matreski. We all went there. We went in the private plane. The plane stopped in Honolulu. We didn't have to get off for customs. Customs came on the plane, and from there we go to Vegas.
To go to that place. Go on.
From there we go to Vegas, and all of us are picked up in limos, taken to Caesar's Palace, all given these amazing rooms, all these beautiful suites, and
good.
First morning, the boys wake up and Jeff, they're ringing me, quick, we need to speak to you. I said, what's the problem? They said, Jeff, please come down. So I go down the room. They show me this envelope. And I said, what is it? Sorry, it was just like something you write a letter, the envelope, And I said, what is it? They said, open it up. Open it up. There was $5,000 in it. I went to my other friend's room. They all had $5,000 each. And I said, I rang up one day. I said, listen, the boys have all got 5. He said, yeah, that's their spender money per day. So every morning they'd wake up, had 5,000 US a day to spend. And God bless his soul when we all left. We had amazing fun gambling there, and I remember one day that we walked into the Mirage and it was just new there, and there was this beautiful, beautiful lady, Kerry's air hostess were hand-picked, mate, the prettiest girls you've ever seen, but I'll never forget this beautiful girl was working at the Mirage, and Mr. Packer said to her, being smart and schemy and whatever he wants to be, what are you doing here working at that time of the night? She said, I've got a child at home getting babysat. I've got a $140,000 mortgage on the house. I'm separated. He goes, oh, yeah. She walked around, kept serving. He calls this man. I'll never forget the man's name. His name was Joe Dweck. He was like, he would organise everything for Kerry. He said, go and get my checkbook. Went and got his checkbook, signed a check for the $140,000, called the lady over, said, go home. Yeah, she was like crying her eyes out. I mean, he was just a generous man, like I said. And I'll tell you this, the day we left, he gave all my friends, a large amount of money could have set them up for life back then, which, it helped them very, very much.
Yeah, I've heard so many good stories about that.
I cried my
and his generosity.
Paid my mortgage too.
Yeah. Wish he was still alive.
Yeah.
I can get a visa to America.
I know a bloke used to be a boss at Channel 9, actually. He went over to Packer one day to Vegas, and he said when he got that, Packer gave all the people that were there a $10,000 chip. And he said, mate, I looked at it, and he said, I just wanted to go straight to the cashier's office, and or cage they call them, and just cash out the $10,000, just put it in my pocket. And he thought, is he watching me though? He just didn't. He didn't. Yeah. He wasn't quite sure, so he just thought. So he ended up going to the tables. He played a couple $100, and then he cashed out.
Well, there's a story going about Jeff about the Texan. He was going to toss the Texan for $1 million.
Oh yeah.
What's that story?
Well, he was sitting down. He goes and joins a table, and this man who's playing has big hat on, a massive cigar, and
that's right.
They had played a couple of games, and it wasn't going their way, and he's kind of thinking because Kerry joined in anyway. One more hand went down, and Kerry plays the perfect way. He'll, won't if he's any card. Blackjack anyway. So, like I said, this man wasn't real happy, and he goes, "Man, do you know who I am? You're like swearing, you're fucking up the table." And he goes, Mr. Packer goes, "No." He goes, "Wait, I'm worth $500 million. You know what? It start yelling and stuff." So Mr. Packer just really calm as he always was. Just called the croupier, the guy who runs the table. He goes, "Tell this man." that owns the 500 million that I'll toss him for it. We'll toss it. Just have a toss. The guy's nearly, I don't know, the guy nearly took a heart attack, and it was crazy. But like I said, it was crazy. I mean, that trip that we went over there with Kerry, thank God for that 5,000 every day. I won $250,000.
Joking.
You know, I had it all in chips in my room, and you wouldn't believe, within 2 days, he was telling me, look, go get sus, and I'll be fine. I can control myself. Within 2 days, I lost it all. $250,000 US.
Gambling.
Yeah, gambling. Yeah. Anyway, I won it back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And this time, instead of just taking the chips, I went and got a check.
Of course.
I put the check in my room, and I said to Kerry, Kerry, I want to leave home. I want to leave early because there's still 4 or 5 days, and they were going to some island, the Galapagos Islands. They were going there, and I said, I don't want to go. I want to go home because I had this money. Yeah. So he goes to the island. I get a plane going home because
cashed up.
Yeah, well, anyway, I had like 7,000 US left, and one of my friends from America says, Jeff, come on, you got to gamble. I said, no, I'm just going to give it to my mum when I get home. I just want to take it home, you know. Yeah, it was. But anyway, so what happens is he convinces me. So I put $5,000 down. I win, got 10,000. Put 10,000 down. I won. I got 20,000. I put the 20,000 down. I got blackjack. Got 50,000. I walked out another 50,000 in cash.
Memories.
It was great, mate. It was the most amazing times with Mr. Packer, and James, everybody, you know, David Gingell. We were a big family. It was great.
Shoulders on some high people,
You're lucky you came into contact with them, weren't you, Jeff, early in your career? Because they helped you with your investments and to look after yourself. We see a lot of fighters, get through their career and they haven't handled their money quite right. But I think it's testament to you, the fact that these such successful businessmen in Australia.
Well, do you know how I met them, Paul? I got a call from, could have been John Singleton or somebody, saying that Kerry Packer wants you, James Packer wants you to go to his 21st birthday and they're going to build a ring. They want you to do an exhibition. I said, I'm not doing none of this shit in front of those rich kids. You know, I said, no. So I declined. Anyway, party was over and stuff, but I said that because James wanted me, so I'd love to meet him. We met, and ever since we've been, really good friends. Yeah.
Immediate. Yeah.
They're good people to have in your corner.
Oh yeah, they gave me a lot of great advice. The only thing that I think I'd done wrong through the whole entire career and advice from them was me, James, and another very wealthy man named Tszyu, who was my manager for a while there. And we brought some pubs and we built a whole block of units, in one of the pubs in the car park there. And I don't know, I got this feeling saying, like if I had them today, they'd be, who knows, over 50 million, no problem. And I just felt really uncomfortable because people were saying, you're in business with these people. So I just made them pay my money out. Yeah. And it was the worst thing I ever done.
Talking about a lot of advice from the Packers, what advice would you give now to a young boxer coming through with big potential?
No, just the most important thing I do, forget about training, forget about, is be around good people. Yeah, be around people that want you to be successful, not people that don't care if you're successful. And then the easiest thing is ever. Preparation's everything. Go out and train your ass off. Train harder than anybody else, or train harder than you think you can train. And you'll get in there and you'll be ready. Preparation's everything, And if you've done things before, mentally, you can do it again. So do things that people think you can't do. Like I said, when I fought for my first world title, I was fighting 15 rounds in my 7th fight, like I said, and all these fights, he can't do it. He hasn't fought 15 rounds before. How's he going to do it? Mate, I've done it in the gym 100 times, so I was ready for it.
Preparation.
Preparation's everything.
Yeah.
When you fought Satoshi Shinyaki, just reminded me for the first world title. So it was, I think the fight was April 26th. It was like the day after Anzac Day, wasn't it?
April 26th.
It's the day after Anzac Day. So Bill Morty's the promoter. He was a great one, Bill.
Yeah, he was,
brilliant.
One of a kind.
Break even.
Brilliant
He always
promoter.
broke
Anyway,
even.
so what he did though, Bill put the fight on. He couldn't, for whatever reason, he didn't put it on Anzac Day, but he put it on the day after. It was at the Horden Pavilion, little tin shed. It was just, the noise just bounces off the walls everywhere inside there. So anyway, come the fight, Bill's like, his whole future's invested in Jeff winning this fight, okay? Anyway, so before the fight, he's got all these green and gold balloons up in the ceiling and all this, and Jeff comes out to the because there's a challenger, he has to come out first. So he comes out first, and Shinyaki, they go to his dressing room, and they say, Mr. Shinyaki, there'll be a 10-minute wait. And he's ready to go. He's ready to walk out. So he turns around, walks over and sits back down again. Meanwhile, Bill goes to Ray Connolly. Remember the old ring announcer, Ray Connolly?
The best.
And he whispers to him. So Connolly goes into the centre ring and says, ladies and gentlemen, there is a slight delay. Mr. Shinyaki is exercising his right as the champion to come out when he sees fit. Right. Now, poor old Shinyaki had no idea. He had no idea this was going on. But, mate, the crowd just went berserk. And Bill back then, you could get away with it back then. Bill also pumped up the whole Australia versus Japan on Anzac Day, all this sort of business, even though that, for all the people going to point out that Anzac Day is not to do with the Japanese, it was still there, right? But the crowd just went berserk, right? Because they're like, you prick, how dare you do this and all this? And Jeff's just walking around the room, the ring, and as Jeff did, you just stalked the ring. You know?
I wanted to fight.
You started
I
to get
wait,
the shits because you were waiting.
Yeah,
which
great win.
Normally a fighter when they gets the shits, that's not a good thing like that, but it helped you in the way you fought. So just get the shits in the middle of the ring. Paul Shinyaki's just sitting in the dressing room, nice and quiet. The noise is starting to come through the dressing room. He's thinking, what's going on out there? And the crowd, because they'd all been fueled up on the grog and all the rest of it, they just went berserk. So by the time they went and tapped on his door and said, righto, time to come out, he walked out, mate, it was feral inside that ring. Inside the horde, and mate, they just went after him. They were throwing things at him, and everyone he was a nice, quiet kid actually, wasn't he, Shinyaki?
Oh yeah,
and it sort of intimidated him walking in, and then it got worse for him because he walked into Jeff with the shit. So that was just Bill at his best doing that one.
The good stories. Who was the toughest fighter, Jeff?
The toughest guy I fought by a million miles was Victor Callejas and Marcus Villasana, the two. Well, one's a Mexican, one's a Puerto Rican. Okay. But they were the toughest guys. And like I said, people don't realise. I don't know if you ever seen Usain Bolt or anybody win a race with a broken leg. I fought every one of my fights with broken hands. When I fought Villasana, both broke. When I fought Callejas, my right hand was broken. If you watch the fight, I used my left hand for the first, for the first, I just was left-handed. But, so...
You look at your right hand now, you can see that sort of, I don't want to say deformed.
Big pins put in both, and
you can see the lumps sitting on the back of your
hand. There's a big story.
That
was on 60 Minutes, and one of the best surgeons ever in Australia, Bruce Shepard, he's there, and he says publicly, I don't know how this guy could ever fight because he just touched my hand, he pushed it down, and I made a reaction because it hurts. And he said, I don't know how you fought, how you punched people in the chin, how you punched them in the head, but I punched him in the head because I wanted to win for Johnny.
Did it hurt when you did the punching though?
Oh yeah.
Was there a period though where your fist actually went numb? Because sometimes if you break a knuckle like that and you keep punching through it, they get a numbness in there.
Well, my biggest problem was my both knuckles preluded like that, and so when I'd punch, it would go on one knuckle and it would break the bones in the back of my hand.
Yeah, and you still got the lumps there on the back of your hand.
Yeah, they still got the lumps and still got the scars, but I've got nothing else, and there's no arthritis. Everything's good, and like I said, I had 7 operations, so it's
Paul, did you hear what he just said earlier? I wanted to do it for Johnny. Didn't matter about the pain. Didn't give a fuck about anything else.
Because he believed in me. He told me I could do it. He told me I could do it. I just, whatever he said, I could do.
That is amazing. That's so great.
If he told me to jump off the Harbour Bridge, you're going to be able to... That's more than likely have done it.
That's the relationship you both had, like a father-son relationship?
Yeah, 100%.
Unbelievable.
And, Jeff, so when you did retire and, you had that brief retirement in 89 and, who was that after?
That was Marcus Villasana.
That was Villasana, yeah.
Both hands were balloons.
And it was the hands that
No, that's not why I retired. No.
What was it?
What pushed me into that retirement was that was the first time that the Packers got involved and got somebody there to manage me. So instead of getting 100,000 like I got for every fight in front of, I'm pretty sure if we work out now, 12, 15,000 people at a fight, at $100, that's 1.2 million. If you work out what Sky Channel was, which was twice as much as that, work out what sponsorship was and for me to get 100,000, it wasn't a lot of money.
Yeah.
So the Packers jumped on board and told me they'd help me. They got me Tszyu Onisfora, who done an amazing job for me. And I remember that fight, I got 330,000, something like that. And the fighting in between all those guys was terrible.
Yeah.
Bill arguing that this and that. Anyway, I thought that was the easy way out. And I don't usually take the easy way out, but I did on that occasion because I didn't want to really hurt Bill. And I didn't want to, so I thought, just get out of it, And
then you became a footballer.
Yeah, I played, believe it, I played And I played this other really short guy one game, Parramatta.
Please.
Yeah.
They right next to you.
His
Mate.
name was, that's him. I thought I knew him from somewhere.
No, I'll tell you what happened, right? So we had a game. We had to play a midweek game when we were at Parramatta. Right? It was basically a reserve grade playing. It wasn't the first grade team. It was we're playing some. I can't even remember the team we were playing. And I didn't know Jeff at all, really, at that point. And we were in the dressing room. I was getting ready. Jeff comes in, and of all people, actually got next to me to start getting changed.
Because I was taller than him.
49 kilos.
Jeff, you've never been taller than me, please. Mate, I'm 5'2", you're 5'1".
We'll stand up after this and just we'll see.
But anyway, no, what happened out of that was, and then remember Con come in the dressing room, and Jeff's going, Con, mate, we're one short. Did you bring your boots? And Con's going, oh, Jeff, I don't think I could play, mate. And he goes, well, mate, we're one short. We need you. Oh, Jeff, I don't think I can play, mate. Poor old Con, he was terrified. He thought he was going to have to play the game. Anyway, so we go out, and I'm going to tell the story, Jeff, not you. We go out, Jeff's playing hooker, I'm playing halfback. We lose 3 scrums against the feed in the first half.
And whose fault was that?
Right? It's Jeff's fault.
I'll ask Jeff whose fault was that. Go on.
Please.
But he come up to me at half time. He goes, mate, what are you doing? Put the ball in the second row. You're making me look bad. I said, you're making me look bad.
Not striking. It was different back then, wasn't it?
Oh, it was different, mate.
Yeah,
Look,
there was a trick to put it in. And
well,
who could
back,
strike for the ball?
This was the transition from the days where scrums were fair income to what they are now, which is just a big group cuddle, right? And back then I thought it was mostly on the halfback to win the scrum. You had to sort of cheat with the feed in the side.
Still you couldn't do that back then. You know?
I kept bouncing the ball off his foot. So it was bouncing off the foot and then going into the opposition scrum.
Oh, okay.
And that's how we were losing
And you
it.
blamed
Yeah,
the-
I was telling him
blamed
to get his feet out of the way.
Jeff.
He was telling me to put it in the second row. You're blowing up with the shits, weren't you? But even then, I still remember Johnny, when he turned up the train and, mate, it just blew everyone's head off how fit he was.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, like he just come straight from being all that. And you're a pretty good footballer. That's the other thing. Like you played Jersey flag and all that for Newtown back.
I played
in
Matthew
those days.
Shield, SG Ball, Jersey Flag.
Oh,
I played
there
for
you go.
5 years, and
Yeah.
like I said, I was 48 kilos when I was 18. So yeah, I wasn't that big, but like I said, I always topped the tackle count. I had a great coach named Ralph Speechley, Michael Speechley's dad.
Yeah,
and,
I know him. Yeah.
Bronco de Jura was in my side,
Yeah, yeah.
and Craig, Dean Penning, and we had a great side. Darren, a lot of the boys all got graded, but at that age, who was going to pick a guy that was 48 kilos to play grade? Nobody. And like I said, not that I wasn't going to try. I went to the PCYC one day and found a boxing ring, and that was it. Changed my life, you know. If I could give it all back, John, and
Yeah.
play first grade, I'd do it in 1 second. They can have all
Would you
my
really,
belts.
though?
Amazing.
1,000,000%.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Play
That's the
NRL,
fascination.
100%.
That is the
look at
fascination.
play footy
Yeah.
for Australia.
Yeah, well, any to play first grade for Parramatta or Newtown would have been great, you know. But yeah, people think, no, that's what I was brought up to do. I thought I was I played football since I was 4 years old. Played for St Pius, Enmore, and went through all the grades and played. So yeah, all good.
It's an amazing story.
It's a big thing to give up though, because there's a lot of debate and people give me
champion.
the shits when they want to talk about it. To be honest, who's Australia's greatest fighter? Like you are by a mile, right? And Tszyu, if you consider him Australian, which he was, his whole professional career was as living in Australia. But even still, if you go through your career, the amount of Hall of Famers that you beat, and more importantly, I would say the amount of guys who you fought who were at or near their best, as opposed to Kostya. A lot of Kostya's bigger fights were against guys who, by the time he got to them, were a little bit, or I wouldn't say a little bit, well past their best. Like, Cesar Chavez, for example. You know what I mean?
Well, it's for 3 guys that I fought after me went on to win the world title. You know.
Yeah. And that's a big thing in boxing, because boxing's all about the timing, the ups and downs. You know, you want to catch guys when you're on the way up and you're in a better, trajectory than what they are.
Paul, to be honest, again, I'm this kind. I don't care about my belts. When I get off the plane and see Roberto Duran or Ray Leonard, and they give me the accolades they give me, then you know you've made it. When the greats welcome you and talk about you, and you're with them, then and you're not a reserve just being there for some unknown reason. But when you get the credit and the gratitude from the greats, then I can go home and sleep right now. I know what I've done.
How good you were.
Yeah, like Mike Tyson saying I was his favourite fighter. Evander Holyfield saying I was most probably the toughest little fighter that ever lived. Those kind of things will live with me forever. And then, like I said, my belts mean nothing to me, but that kind of stuff means a hell of a lot to me.
Yeah, and you still got a really good friendship with Mike, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I love Mike, and when I was very sick over the last couple of years, he always sent me beautiful messages, and got on video saying that he hoped I was well. But like I said, there aren't too many people in my life that I've been friends with that I aren't still friends with. I kind of believe that loyalty is a really important thing, but
absolutely
loyalty, like I said, loyalty to a friend's one thing, but people talk about being loyal, but if somebody is loyal to you and they know they can't help you, they should tell you to move on. That's loyalty.
Pick and stick.
That's loyalty. And I say that for a reason, because I watched the Tszyu fight recently and see how great Tim is and his brother Nikita, and I've spoke to him, and the word loyalty comes out a lot, and I said, listen, it's great to be loyal, but if somebody's in your corner, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, like I said, against Fandora, Tszyu would still be world champion today. First of all, they knew how to stop a head from bleeding, and second of all, if they knew the most important thing, that in the fourth round, if the fight stopped, and you're in front, you retain the title. So, like I said, I've been blessed. Like Tim and Nikita and their beautiful mum, Natasha, we grew up. We were traveling all around the world together. We were traveling to Cairns and having holidays together with the families. So, like I said, I'd like to feel that I'm closer than I am today with them, but I'm just like this guy. If it's black, it's black. I'm going to just tell them. When people hear me call their corner clowns, what does he know? I know a lot because I've been there and done it.
And
that's why we love you.
Tim's been really good about that too, hasn't he? Like what you said about that, he just said, look, that's Jeff. Jeff's got his opinion. He hasn't cracked the shits or carried on or
1,000,000%.
He knows where you're coming from.
Well, he knows I'm
who
telling
you
the
are.
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't think you'll ever get rid of that corner?
I do. You know why?
Yeah.
Because, like I said, as great as Tim was the other day, and he was great. Listen, he fought somebody who could fight, and he made that guy fight like that. That's how I won all my fights. I made the guy fight the way I wanted him to fight.
Yeah.
And if you do that and you're fighting your fight, you're 90% of the chance you're going to win. I mean, unless you get knocked out. But when I think of Tim, and I think of what's going to happen now, Tim's going to get back to the top very quickly. And then if you fight somebody that is a super champion like he has fought in the last few fights, when you go back to the corner after the first round, you need somebody to tell you what you have to do or what the other guy's trying to do to you. Those guys can't tell him that, and they're never going to be able to.
One of the things I sort of was unsure of, and all the conversations I had about that fight with Tim last week, was how you come back from defeat. And look, when he fought Fandora, he got obviously that really bad cut, and at some point during the fight, I think it affected him how much blood he was seeing, and the fact that his corner couldn't stop it, and he couldn't see the cut clearly. He couldn't see how he looked, but he could see how much blood was washing down over him. He could see how much blood was washing over his opponent, and he knew between rounds, as soon as they would try to stop it, they'd basically take the swab off, and it'd just start bleeding again.
That's because they put the swab in the cut.
Yeah.
And they didn't close the cut up.
They didn't close the cut.
They
kept
supposed
it
to
open.
put pressure on and put the adrenaline on. Anyway, like I said, they talk about.
But the thing about that, though, Jeff, is when he then got in against the fight against the Russian in the next fight, early in the fight, first round, he got hit in the forehead again. And first thing he did was wipe his forehead with his glove and look at it. I thought, oh, that's a bad sign, because you could see that the thought of the memory of the previous fight was still forefront in his
100%.
thinking. So I was worried about going into this fight whether that would do it. So, and from a boxing point of view, from your point of view, how do you come back from those defeats? Because losing in a boxing ring is much different than losing a footy game. We see footy players walk off having a bit of a joke with their opponents these days when they lose a game. I imagine that makes you happy. But how do you come back from that? Because I remember with you with the whole Azuma Nelson thing. Yeah, I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong here, but it's like something did break inside you when that happened. Like you were inconquerable before that fight. You didn't think anything could happen to you. You didn't think anyone would ever be able to beat you. But after that fight, there was just something slightly different.
I say this to everybody. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, something. I was never the same after that fight.
Yeah.
But guess what? That fight made me the man I am today. I'm here
Yeah.
with you guys because I lost. I'm here being able to share my story because I lost. Had I wanted to be in America, living it up, doing whatever I want to do, because of that fight that I lost, I married the most beautiful lady in the world, my wife Tszyu. I got 3 beautiful children. I mean, yeah, that's because I lost. So if you're going to get that from a loss, and then later on in your life you can admire and appreciate what happened, man, I'm the happiest person in the world. And like I said, although I would have loved to be undefeated, and listen, life's not about undefeated. Life's about being happy, and I'm the happiest person in the world today.
That's great.
That's purely from a sporting point of view, though, it's tough to come. Like, how does Tim get rid of that memory of what's happened to him in those 2 fights?
Yeah, let me go back to me. Just think of this. I won the fight. I won the
Yeah,
first
you did
fight
win the
easily.
fight, yeah.
But easily. So in my head, again, I thought I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to finish the 12th round, 13th round, and I would stop the guy. That guy went back, and that's why I love Tszyu Nelson. He went back and said he can beat me, whatever the reason why he thought he could, because I thought he had no chance. But he comes back out and done it. Like I said, I've got plenty of stories I can tell about to make excuses why I lost. But I don't make excuses, you know why? Because the better guy beat me today. The Jeff Fenech that went in the ring wasn't the Jeff Fenech that usually steps in the ring. So
There's a lot of shit fight around that fight, wasn't it? Yeah, they got the
be honest,
needle
didn't
wrong
they?
on the day.
Well,
when
forget
they
the
tried
needle
to do
wrong.
the-
So I don't know if Johnny ever told you. So my doctor, the first injection he gave me, because it was obviously, and this you got to realise
This is
too.
for your broken hands.
Yeah. Johnny Lewis. It's my biggest fight of my life. It's in front of 40,000 people in the pouring rain. Everybody's there. Johnny Lewis has got Tszyu fighting. He's got Virgil Hill fighting. He had one more personal. I'm in the dressing room on my own for the biggest fight of my life. Not yet. So when the doctor comes to give me my injection, I just hold my hand like that so he could inject the first one. He injected me through that hand, out that hand, into that hand. And like I said, I'm not going to mention any names, but the reason why he done that was because they were out blind. I fought in the middle of the day, and the team were out drunk all night. They were out partying in Melbourne because they're with in Team Fenech, and we could do it if we wanted there. So I mean, like I said, but again, I'd never use that as an excuse, And I went to the Kerry Packer sent me to a neurologist the next day. I still had enough Marcaine in my hand to have an operation. So again, but that's not what the excuse. Tszyu Nelson beat me. He was better than me on the day. I didn't prepare properly. I've done a lot of things wrong, and that's what you get.
Do you have those sort of mental little things, though, Jeff, in your head that after the loss, like before a loss, every undefeated fighter just doesn't think they can be beat, and I mean that respectfully.
That's why you're undefeated.
Yeah, but I mean that respectfully. It's not
course.
an arrogance thing. It's just that's the mentality you got to carry in yourself.
Yeah, you've got to have that.
Yeah, but you also get that once you get the first crack, the other cracks start to appear. Like how hard is it going to be for Tim to go back to America and to actually sit there and get in against a world. Yeah, if he wants to, which he does, fight for a world title. So it's going to be a good fighter who's at the top of his game. How does he not sit there and think, geez, I hope I don't get a head cut again, or geez, I hope I don't walk. Like that Russian kept hitting him with left hooks.
Yeah.
In the end, he was begging for a right, poor old Tim, because
let me tell you something,
it
Paul.
knocked him.
Let me tell you something. I tell people all this, and I'm just honest. We can get a shoulder replacement, we get a knee replacement, we get a hip replacement. You can't get a chin replacement.
Yeah.
When that finally goes, and it happened to me without any word of a lie. After my first fight against Tszyu Nelson, never heard a bit. When that happened to me, I'll never forget. I went back in the gym, I sparred, and then after my first spar, I said, Johnny, shit, I just got rocked. I've never been hurt. Yeah, I sparred Jeff Harding 1,000,000 rounds. I sparred Alan McNamara. I sparred everybody. I sparred everybody. Heavyweights down. And all of a sudden, it hurt me, and I thought, wow, But in your mind, you're always trying to say, I'll get back, I'll be fine. No, but when this is done, it's done, mate. And I'm not saying Tim's done. Tim got hit with some great punches. And again, this doesn't happen just in the fight. This happens through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rounds of sparring, bigger people. So today, I would never let anybody do what I done as a person going up. I would never let any of my boys spar light heavyweights or heavyweights when you weigh 57 kilos. It's just a license to end your career earlier than it should.
Makes a lot of sense.
I remember Johnny told me that story about when after the draw with the Zuma.
Yeah.
You went back and you came over and you said you got hurt
it's the
with
first
a
time,
spar.
yeah.
And Johnny said in his head, he just went, "Oh, we're in trouble here,"
Yeah.
because you'd never ever said that in your life. And
I wouldn't say it. Yeah.
But you had sparred all those. Like Jeff Harding was the light heavyweight champion. You're like bantamweight, featherweight, and you're sparring him. So you didn't complain how hard he was hitting you. Yet,
No, I never complained
after
he never hurt me. I think he was
Yeah.
complaining about how many times I hit him.
Yeah, he was.
You know?
Poor old Jeff. Yeah, but it's a whole mindset of it, the psychology of.
Yeah, but so that's what I'm trying to say. So people don't realise that you're getting hit in the head, and so getting hit in the head can knock you out. It's concussed, concussion. But getting hit hundreds and hundreds of times, it's like if I get water on tip of the right, it's gonna if I just hit that wall with a hammer, it might start breaking out. But let me tell you, after I hit another couple thousand times, it's gonna deteriorate, and this deteriorated, and I was never the same after it. So, but like I said, no excuse. I was blessed to have an amazing career. I was the one thing that I'm proud of. I always said, if anybody's gonna beat me in a fight, they're going to carry me out. I don't want to lose on points. I've been knocked out. And I'm proud to say that.
Yeah.
I'm super proud to say it. Yeah, I got knocked out. Yeah, but because I'm not going to get carried out of there. Because if I'm capable, I'm going to throw more punches than anybody else.
Yeah. And that's how the Warriors go. Get carried out rather than walking out.
Yeah.
That's. I think that's why everyone fell in love with that too, Jeff. Was the way you fought, as opposed just to not who you beat, but. Yeah, you didn't give anyone a rest.
Yeah, well, like I said, Paul, I always knew that. Yeah, I worked so hard with Johnny. Like I said, people talk about sparring. There were multiple times during my career that Johnny would have 3 people just all in the ring, and I'd 1 minute, because these guys couldn't do 4 or 5 rounds straight with me.
Yeah,
we've had people who had jumped on planes and gone home instead of sparring that we brought from overseas and. Interstate as well. We've had like I said, I'm not gonna mention names, but like I said, I've sparred 2 of Australia's best. They were both heavier than me. One day after we sparred, they got on a plane and went home because they couldn't put up the pressure.
When you go to training yourself, you trained Mike Tyson for a fight there, and he gave you all sorts of headaches there, poor old Mike, didn't he?
Oh no, of course,
he got the tattoo.
Here I am. I'm training to fight Cliff Etienne.
Yeah,
everything's done, and 3 days away from the fight, I'm sitting there waiting for him, and anyway, waiting. I go back to the house, and he turns up with this tattoo on his face. And like I said, I've never had a tattoo or anything like that in my life. Never had a smoke, never had a drug, never had a coffee in my life. I'm sitting there thinking, man. I know when people get tattoos, they got to put things over them. You're not allowed to touch them because they rub you, something like that. So I think, Mike, how are you going to fight? He goes, no, I don't want to fight, whatever. I said, listen, Mike, I've been in there 6-8 weeks. I'm just gonna, if we're not going to fight, Mike. I don't want to stay any longer. I want to go home to my family. So he organised me to go home. That afternoon, apparently, Showtime rang him and said if he's not going to fight, they're going to sue him. I get home because we lose the day. I get home the morning of the fight. I hear Mike's fighting. I watch him go out there with Freddie Roach, who's a great guy, great friend of mine. I've trained the guy for 8 weeks, and he goes out and knocks the guy out 1 round. So I came home.
Yeah,
I didn't want money off Mike. He was my friend, but I came home, with nothing. And obviously, Freddie Roach got the credit for the win. I trained him for the whole time.
He got the trainer's fee.
Yeah.
Jeff, I'd love your opinion on this. Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali at their best, who'd win?
I've got to say this without
without bias.
Yeah. A fit Mike Tyson would have beat all of them because when he hits them guys, and like I said, you've seen Ali, and Ali had a great chin. Ali was one of the toughest and bravest guys I've ever seen. But I don't know if he could have kept. Mike had not just power. Mike had incredible speed. So that I just think that and Ali stayed there, but Ali stayed there. And sometimes you would let you hit him. Nobody would have let Mike hit him. Not once, twice, then. Tempt him to do it again. Like I said, Mike was a little different. Like I said, so as soon as he won, everything changed for him. I remember when I first got over, he said to me, Jeff, I used to train 8 or 10 spar rate. Me and Harley want to spar 4 or 6 rounds now. So, we had to do a lot of work and a lot of things have changed. But like I said, I mean, if you sparred 8 or 10 rounds that made you win the world title, you continue to spar. You don't get off that winning formula. But like I said, as a person, his family, his little children who I grew up beside, and his beautiful wife Kiki now, who has made and changed Mike's life around. It was for me was one of the great things that happened in my career to see Mike, before a fight, walk out the front of his hotel and see thousands of people. There was like the Beatles or Elvis,
Yeah, of course.
He'd get in the car, everybody touch a car when he's driving down the road, and like I said, as crazy as everybody thought Mike was one of the most generous people ever. Not just to the people around him, but people just in the street. If he's seen anybody in the street, he'd always walk up and give him the money and stuff.
That's
so
lovely.
yeah, he's a lovely person.
What's it like hanging around with him?
It's pretty tough.
What's he like at home? What's
No,
he
no.
like?
Yeah, at home he's like at home
Pet
he's
tiger, hasn't
yeah, no way, yeah. At home he's one of those guys who'll just sit and watch TV. There used to be these videos that came out about all these horrific accidents where people would go to walk across a railway track and they'd get run over. I loved watching them too. I'd watch them with him. It was crazy. I got all copies of them at home. But he would watch those things and But like I said, but then like I said, he loves his family, loves his kids, and he's very, very loyal to his friends.
The fascination with Mike is the same as the fascination with you, is that line that you both sort of walk at times between like the warrior mentality that you both
I'd say
are.
Mike was a light switch. When he was on, he was on. When he was off, he was off. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but on the flip side, you got this whole other life you got to live, the family life and all the rest. But then there's that animal basic instinct inside you that when that switch gets hit. Yeah, it's like when Tyson.
Yeah.
Tell us about Tyson was in the limo with Don King when he found out Don King robbed him.
Well, everybody knows the story. Mike was in the back and they were going somewhere. And anyway, he threatened Don King, and then Don King said something, and Mike from the back seat of the car lunges out and gives him a kick in the head, and had to stop the car. And Don King was running through all the traffic there. But like I said.
Could you imagine seeing that?
I'm this guy today, John. I want you to know this, that at the moment I'm working really hard on trying to put together a thing that I want to call It's Time to Give Back. So I want to do my best to do exactly what Johnny done to me and all the boys at the gym, but I want to do it in a bigger way, in a better way. So I want to. I've been talking to a lot of people. I've got a great friend who's an amazing success after being in jail for bank robberies, named Jeffrey Morgan, who's a champion person, and we're gonna hopefully sit down together and get some young boys, bring them. Yeah, get sponsorship, feed them, drink. Yeah, Johnny.
I'd love to.
Listen, I mean, like I said, I've made mistakes, and so have you. But you know what? And people think it's a life sentence. It's not a life sentence. It's just a lesson.
I used to think once upon a time, but never.
Well, listen, Johnny Elias, if you never played first grade football, nobody's even going to know about it.
Yeah.
Paul Ken, if he wasn't, on NRL 360 in the media, what he done? Who would have known about it?
Yeah.
Me, I've been accused and done things I haven't even done, and it's because of me. Everybody knows about it. But like I said, you've got to learn to take what comes with being a celebrity. You got to learn. You got to be, like I said, these days you got to be a lot smarter. But like I said, and the reason why I say this, and I'll say it straight, the only way you're going to get smarter is when you're around smart people.
Exactly.
You hang around dumb people, I don't care if you're dumb or not, you're going to be accredited as dumb. You hang around good people, like as a parent today, I tell everybody, when my daughter would tell me I'm going to John's house, I want to go down and check that she's at John's house, not somewhere else. And I want to check out John and his family and see what they're like, because, mate, that's my daughter's future, hanging around those people.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it is important, So I've learned lots throughout my career, but like I said, I'm just really eager and keen to start to give back. And I give back all the time. I'll go to restaurants and buy people's dinners without them knowing and give them wine. But I want to do more than that. I want not that because I want people to know what I do, but I want to try to help some kids that I know that are going through what I went through that need it. And so I'm very, very keen to be doing that.
That's great. That's magnificent. Good on you, Jeff. We love that.
All right, mate, that's a good place to end it. Johnny, just before we go,
I've got
a very...
She's waiting for it. It was her birthday yesterday, my Mama Susie, she's 94. 94. I've got to tell you a story. In 1984, I get a phone call from St. George officials about going... Actually, it was a trial to see if you go, well, you get a contract with St. George. I went to Mama. I said, Mama, Matt St. George supporter she is. I said, Mama, I think I got an offer from St. George. Oh, no. John, no, you can't go St. George. They're the Saints. You're a naughty boy. You know the truth? That was it for me. I thought, you know what? I'm so embarrassed. Off I left. Went to Brisbane Souths under the tutelage of Wayne Bennett. My own mother could see I was living a double life. So embarrassing. Oh, my God.
Oh, that's beautiful. Jeff, I want to thank you for coming in, mate.
Oh, mate,
tried
how
to get
good.
you last week. I know it's been a tough time for you.
Yeah,
but thank you for making the time for us, mate, and coming in.
Beautiful,
all
strange
the best
story.
with everything. And, mate, if you need any help with that little project,
It'd be great.
Started, Johnny will help. And so will I. Anything you need, mate, anything we can do to help, we can do. We can't do what we used to be able to do, but we'll try what.
First, I want to say thank you. And my famous sayings, I love you all. And just remember, tough times don't last, tough people do.